So, there was a bidding war between three properties, three companies. There was Netflix, there was Universal, there was Paramount, or, Universal, also known as Comcast, but, it's easy to say Universal. But they all wanted one thing. They wanted to buy Warner Brothers. And we're all questioning, who's it going to be? Who would be the best choice? Who would it be the worst choice? Who would be somewhere in the middle? And we know the answer to that now. We know who it is. And sadly, I'm sorry, it ain't you, Paramount.
Where? You like that? Huh? You like that? Where? Get up!
Oh my god. I read that article of, the Paramount letter. Because it's naturally, hey, write a letter to say, hey, this is what our plans are for the company. This is why we believe, even though we might not have the best offer, or maybe not the amount of money that you might be seeking, but we might be the best choice. Here the reasons why. And okay, that's a reasonable thing to do. Well, in reality, it just went so, pity, and then doing the whole political game, doing the whole thing of well, we're buddies with the current, because Paramount is owned by the Edisons, who are buddies with Trump. They're well, the deal might not come through because you didn't give it to us, and because whoever's a friend of Trump, they get. So it's one of those situations. And Warner Brothers, as rightly so, went, fuck you. We're not doing that. We're not giving it to you. Sorry, you can stamp your feet as much as you want, but you're not getting the piece of candy. You're not getting that. You're not getting Warner Brothers. And honestly, in my head, I'm thinking, you just got Paramount. Prove yourself. Prove yourself that you're worthy to one A studio versus then two. Prove yourself. You make all these release dates for a Sonic movie and a Ninja Turtles film. Okay, cool, awesome. Let's see how those go. Okay, you're creating exclusive deals with directors and writers, and you're making a Call of Duty movie. Prove yourself, before you make big leaps like that, but like buying Warner Brothers. And you want to buy the entire fucking, the whole thing, the whole shebang. Because Warner Brothers is planning to, were planning to sell two sections of the company. One was all network, which is all the free-to-air television stuff, TV networks and that whole thing. And then streaming, which is basically everything that we ever think of with Warner Brothers. HBO, the movies, DC, Harry Potter, blah, 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 blah. They own all of that. They wanted to hold Zabu while everyone else, Comcast and Netflix, wanted just the streaming side of things. They didn't want to deal with the 30 mil of debt. Anyway. But, the answer is, who won? Who won the bigger war? Well, the war was sweet and civil, and it was whiteness. It was Netflix. As I read this article for Deadline, and I don't know if it's showing up. Oh yeah, it's showing up, thank you. So, it says, Netflix wins bidding war for Warner Bros. Discovery, will start exclusive deal talks. Netflix has again victorious with what the highest and the winning bid for Warner Bros. Discovery, and is starting exclusive talks to finalize the deal. Deadline has confirmed that it has followed a Tuesday day that saw Paramount move aggressively to counter a giant streamer and seal a deal on its own. Netflix has offered $28 a share. I don't understand the stock market of that. Please explain that to me. What was the salary according to sources? What was the salary which puts itself on the block of October? It beats out David Eggleston's Paramount and Comcast. Netflix will acquire Warner Bros. Studios, HBO Max streaming assets. So pretty much they own the studio, the Warner Brothers, basically on HBO Max, and there's those little tabs that says like Harry Potter and Middle Earth and DC. They own that. That's what they own. We'll get to buy. Bloomberg is reporting Netflix has offered a $5 billion breakout fee if the deal falls close. Paramount has argued that it was the only one of the three offers with a clear path to closing, assisting a letter. Oh my god! As I've been talking about, a letter to Robert stated that rivals offers from Netflix and Comcast both present serious issues with the legislature were able to ignore. Basic translation: Netflix bought it. Now, of course, the mindset of hearing Netflix owning a movie studio is the sky is falling, because you understand that Netflix is not, like, since day one, ever since they started doing movies, and since they just put their movies in theaters for like a couple of weeks just so they can make it eligible for Oscars and award seasons. Netflix has never been, outside of that, have never been that interested in the theatrical business. But they've been stepping their toes into it a little bit for the last in the last 12 months. I mean, yes, still, like, I saw Frankenstein like 2 weeks in theaters before it hit on Netflix, give you that as an example. But like Glass Onion, went into theaters for a week and became like the highest, I think, streaming movie because they put the damn movie in theaters. They have going to put the final episode of Stranger Things in theaters, and I think that final episode is like 2 hours and 5 minutes. So you get a full 2-hour movie, like a Stranger Things movie, in theaters. So that's another one. The Naya situation, where the Naya films directed by Gary Gerwig is going to be in theaters. For a week in IMAX, for IMAX screens, but still a week. And then the big one is the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel, The Adventures of Cliff Booth, directed by David Fincher and written by Tarantino. That's getting a full theatrical one. Now, I don't know if that has to do with, like, if you're gonna have a Tarantino directed anything, which in the West, you're gonna put it in theaters like a full theatrical one. Maybe there's something to that. But there's signs. It feels like they're just like finally biting the bullet. Because also they want the biggest talents. They want the biggest talents working on their stuff. And for movies, they want the biggest talents to work on their movies. And slowly, people are like, in theaters, you're not giving us a full theatrical deal? We're not going to have it. We're not going to do it. We're not going to set a deal. It doesn't matter how much money for us. We're going to take the less money option just because we know it's going to go to theaters. That's what happened to Waverly Heights. The new movie with Margot Robbie and J.P. Laurie. And it was under her production company. And Netflix offered, I think, like $120 budget. And Warner's offered her like 80, and she took the 8 because Netflix wasn't going to give them give Waverly Heights a theatrical be in theaters. It wouldn't get a full theatrical release. You know, or the story of Daniel Craig saying to Tetsuo, who owns Netflix, saying, "Hey, your model's fucked." Like, there's these signs of they want these big names to work in their movies, but they realize slowly they're pulling away. People want their movies in theaters. The end, no ifs, no buts. Now, so it seems to be they're slowly biting the bullet. Now, the investors ain't got, the shareholders of Netflix ain't happy because anytime shareholders look, the answer changes a thing doesn't mean they actually like change, and they're like, no, stick to your mold, stick to your plan. Stick what you know, and fear change. Bankers, I don't like fear change. I say that. But I think. No, I know a lot of people think the size problem once again because Netflix is not being known. They're going to burn the idea of the theatrical experience with Warner Bros. Properties into the ground. But I'm really thinking they're going to just let Warner Bros. Be Warner Bros. And maybe there'll be some weird deal. Maybe what they'll do is. The only question I would have is HBO. Like HBO Max. That's the only question with Netflix. What are you going to do with HBO Max? Because you got Netflix, and you might not want to do this weird merge. You know what? That might be the thing they'll do. They'll merge it. They'll merge Netflix and HBO. That's what they'll do. I think that's what they'll do. And maybe, like, with every game show, you get, you get Game of Thrones. So it's like, hey, you get Game of Thrones, but there's also Is This Lava? Maybe there's a little bit of that. Maybe they'll just, hey, we own 2 streaming services now. Now the whole question of people saying, will James Gunn and Peter Safran keep their jobs at DC, and Mike Abley and Mike DeLuca, who are running the movie division over Warner, will they keep their jobs? Yes, they will, because they're part of the package deal. And also, apparently, Tessa Williams and David Zaslav, who owns Warner, Stealthy, get along as thick as thieves. Like, they're basically anytime they're the ones who talk. Like, they just get along way easily. So, I think a lot of us understand there's a lot of, like, what could be. Like, is the middle of the road option. Like, the worst case was Paramount getting it. And we all, please, for the love of God, please not Paramount. And Comcast was the best option. But you got the one in the middle. You got one in the middle, which is Netflix. And I think if they play it smart, now it's going to take a couple of years to us see any big changes, because it's going to be maybe 2 years. It's going to take at least like 18 months. So roughly, maybe a year and a half before the deal is finalized. If it's finalized, if there's some sour grapes that Paramount didn't get it. So maybe there'll be some weird legal battles and stuff like that, which probably will switch the thing a bit longer. Maybe it'll be like 3 years because of it. But so we won't really see changes until maybe 2030. Like, they'll officially own it probably around in 2028 or 2027, some point in 2027 or 2028. And then we'll see and it will be like 2 years until we see those changes implemented. So it's going to take about until 2030 until we see those big, massive changes. And what that means. Because also in my head, I'm like, if I'm David Zaslav, I'm like, you just greenlit this Harry Potter show. You kind of want to see it through, to the end line. You want to see this DC plan, go to the through line. Like, there's all these things. And you also, a little bit of the ego. Like, oh, you're the one who made DC the powerhouse as it bloody deserved. Like, there's all these things. Yeah. Anyway, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. It's a bit of a waffle one, but there's a lot of things to talk about. All these possibilities. But anyway, comment below. Let me know your thoughts.